Uh, okay, I'll complete this exercise. Uh, this particular SMS replier application we are working, we added fragments in view pager. Also, we added a fragment in an activity. I mean, different activity. Now we have to make it. Connected with the SQLite database so that items can be saved. And of course, I need to use preferences also in order to maintain the selection. For example, which messages has been selected so that message would be sent as a SMS, automatic SMS reply. So I need to add the features of preferences and as well as database to save the title and the messages. And of course, we have used fragments for our better controlling or to maintain the particular UI. And as I expand this, I would be adding few more features of the fragment. Now I'm going to uh, explain one more way how I can add a fragment, because I've noticed the activity which I created yesterday, which involves some sort of fragment manager and fragment transaction in order to attach a fragment on a top of frame layout. This is what I did in the yesterday's exercise. So the set content view is looking for an activity SMS edit. So I need to find where it is. This particular layout contains a frame layout, nothing else. So inside, no other widgets or any other layouts present. A frame layout can be used as a placeholder layout so that later any view can be added. We already done it. For example, we can add a child to this layout. So how to add a fragment in this case? I've used a fragment manager and the transaction to do the job. For example, the fragment transaction will check for an ID called r.id SMS placeholder, which is nothing but the ID of a frame layout. So this particular transaction, whatever the object coming from fragment manager, will add a fragment on the top of this particular layer, or maybe adding it as a child. So thus a fragment can be loaded inside a frame layout. Could be a relative layout as well. So any layout can be transacted and a fragment can be added. Benefit of using this method is I can completely create a fragment object before I get add it to a UI. I'll let you know how far what the way I'm talking and what way I'm trying to make a difference. Maybe knowing it, a fragment that the life cycle starts from on attach and then it goes. The view is getting added in the one of a lifecycle method called on create view. So before there are two methods are there. Two methods are doing some specific tasks. First thing you have to see, the get argument is called in on create itself, and of course it happens just before the view is getting added. So that your data should be ready before the view is created. In such a case, chances are there sometime after view is added I want to add a or I want to inject a data. That time you may not you may find some other flexible ways to add a fragment. So one of the way what I'm going to do is, first I'll make it simpler, because this block is unnecessary. I could have done it much more simpler than I could have directly passed the bundle, because the bundle sent inside. So this whole block is doing very few work, but most of the work is happening inside the fragment only. Now I'm going to tell you the alternate way of adding a fragment if you feel the fragment transaction manager slightly a roundabout way for you. The easiest, most obvious way is there is a tag called fragment. Give a name, attach the fragment, whatever you created, give a width and height. Any ID, of course, it is a object instance. So I can attach a fragment this way directly through an XML. The same part was done through runtime using fragment transaction, but right now I have added it. You can't see any preview, but at least there is a fragment comes here. So this particular part was done by the fragment transaction in the code, but now I have directly added it, so I can get rid of the fragment transaction or whatever the object I have used. So I do not need this part now. If I run it, I will see my fragment ready. Of course, since I commented that bundle compose fragment stuff, you won't see a data. At least we will verify whether our fragment is loaded inside this particular activity. If you see that the fragment is loaded here. So it's pretty straightforward. The layout itself right now contains a fragment. If you feel this way is useful, easy for you, of course you can do it. But I try to say there are further or similar ways also possible. But in this case, how you will get the instance of the fragment so that you can send some data inside. There's going to be slight couple of constraints we are going to have. So first thing, let me initialize the fragment because I need a fragment object so that I can send the bundles inside. Since it is defined inside a layout, I can do it's not find view by ID. Find fragment by ID. Compose edit fragment. Now your fragment object is ready, but now the reference is coming from your XML file. You slightly use a different format. Call the get support fragment manager or fragment manager. Find fragment by ID and give the ID whatever you have defined here. This ID. Now your fragment instance is ready. But I'm going to have a small issues now. Let me enable this thing. Of course, I have a fragment object. Now, can I set the argument inside? The perfect world, it should be possible. Let me call it ANR. I couldn't attach the data. Log trying to print something. Let us see what it is saying. Fatal exception. Look for a keyword always caused by. It will give you some sort of significant information saying that fragment already active. It means your fragment is already attached, already loaded, view is created for you. Now you are trying to add a data. The before condition, since you use the object, the fragment manager, you created the fragment fully ready with the data. But in this case, without data the fragment has been created. Now you have a very difficult time to attach the data to the free fragment, because the set fragment or set argument is called very well called well before on create itself. But whereas your block already pass on create view, so naturally I couldn't inject the bundle. But I have one more benefit here. Of course, the yesterday's trick will work. I already have a edit text, so let me manually write. Okay. I can safely use this for one reason, because onCreate is already called, so title and messages would have been already been initialized. So getting a title, I don't want strings, get text. This methods I can safely handle now, because my both the edit texts would have been initialized properly, because already on create view has been called the moment I attach it through an XML. Now of course the other one I need to manually inject. I do not have any other way. I have an item ID as well, so create a setter getter for that. Okay, so all getter set is ready. Now I don't need to, you cannot use the set arguments. Let us hope everything work fine. So I'm trying to hit a couple of times. Let me try. Oh, it's ready. So this is because one reason adding through an XML make sure on create view is called the moment the fragment is loaded. So onCreateView has been called. After that only we have to think about attaching the data. Whereas in the previous way where I use a fragment transaction, I can make sure view, data, everything injected and the final object is ready to be loaded. After that only onCreateView is called. So for that purpose I had to use a set argument and have this particular block if this thing. And now I don't need this. No, I don't need this. So if you are calling through a XML or using a fragment transaction, it's up to you how to handle the data. If you want to rename it, of course you can do it. Let me verify. Okay, so it's working. So I will also load the source code. Of course, I'm going to extend this code further because we are going to give an option of SQLite database and then save this content. So right now nothing is being saved and the values are being hard coded. Set item ID. This place I can make sure my save button is the value has been changed, because if at all I am trying to set the item ID, if I try to set it, I'll surely do it for editing purpose only. So edit is there. And of course we have the same fragment used for adding the content. I don't know whether the message is already there. Okay, so adding of course is also allowing you to edit. So it works, and we have seen the other way also. So it's up to you to use the fragment manager on its transaction. Otherwise, if you want to use this way also, you can make use of it. So your activity is much cleaner now because most of the logic is being done inside the fragment itself. And of course, it will become much more cleaner once we add the database specific. I'm going to redo it for your better comfortability because I don't know whether you have a good comfortability on creating the SQLite database specific helper classes. If you have forgotten, I think you can use this for revisiting purpose. So I'm going to create a class. Message DB name I'm giving. Couple of variables we need. So not variable, constants. Database name. If you want database name, you can do it. Okay. DB version, we keep it for our, if at all we are issuing any upgrades, we can use the DB version. So these are all the minimum required thing, and of course we need fields. Okay, so I think I need title and message, a primary key, item ID. Of course, I'm going to use it, use everything here. Item ID, or maybe message ID, it will be more appropriate. Okay. I'll write the query here itself. So, can please somebody remind me create? Can you tell me the create statement? Table. Table name is message table, right? Correct me if I'm doing anything, if I'm doing wrong, please correct me. Okay, next. The field of primary key, of course, the message ID. Okay. Integer primary key auto increment. Any spelling mistake? I don't see. Comma. Then message title, text not null, comma, message body, looks fine. I'll break these things. Does it look good? So create table, the table name, and spacing I have given already, so I hope no error will come. Message ID, integer or primary key, auto increment, and we have given text not null for title and body, and everything is done. This is the create table. Everything will keep it uppercase. Okay, so create statement is done. Now let us go ahead and create the helper class. Which will uh, help you to create the database, create the table, and of course handle upgrades. So SQLite data SQLite open helper, adding the constructor and the abstract methods. The constructor I can cut it short because I'm handling them. I mean that super value can be directly given. Database name, this database name, factory null. I'm not going to modify the default factory setup. The cursor is going to be default cursor, and the version db version. So now it is done. Time to the execute SQL method will execute your raw query, but this would be helpful because it won't return, it will always return void. So if you do not expect after querying, after executing the SQL statement, you do not expect any result, then you can make use of this statement. Typically select statement will give you a result, whereas sometime the create statement won't give you any result. Insert statement will give you a primary key, so that cannot be used. So for anything which doesn't require, see the document itself very clearly execute a single SQL statement that is not a select or any other SQL statement that returns the data. So of course the create table is not going to return anything. Okay. It would be better to have a, if a old version new version greater than the old version, I can execute a statement. Please tell me the drop statement. Drop if exists the table name. What is that table name we create? Message table. And this will drop the table and db. This will force you to recreate the table. This block again will be called. So this is a helper class, so which will handle the database creation and the table creation. If you want to preload some data, of course you can do it here, but we do not want to preload anything. We will let the user create everything. Now SQLite database, give a database itself. So this is the helper class. Couple of other methods also being present. Now I need a constructor. This need a context, so getting the context. So when a constructor is called, DB helper will make sure your database and table everything is created for the very first time. So a default constructor is added. This is a inner class. Okay. Now time to have a utility methods. I recommended SQL exception using the DB helper get writable database. So now your database is open. Database is closed. So I need some utility methods to handle the insert, update, and delete. Maybe 3 or 4 methods I need. So get all messages. See, new database this time. I need to select the right one, so that's why I'm querying. So I think limit at all I'm not going to need it. I'll choose this method, order by up to. The table, some message table, columns. I would recommend having columns and defined in your preferred order. So item ID, sorry, message ID, message title, and message body. So these 3 columns I'm trying to retrieve. So the first one is going to be ID, title, body. So giving the columns, I'm going to retrieve everything, so I can keep hitting no. Of course the cursor. For a better control, okay, move to first thing, we'll keep it in there. So this will retrieve all the messages and return a cursor. Getting a message by an ID. One particular message, so string, sorry, integer or long, the problem will come, but I'll keep long. So need to modify string selection and selection args. So this one, where message ID equal to a placeholder, new should be a integer always, sorry, string always. So to string, so this will retrieve one particular message having a message ID, the value which is coming through an argument. So this will return one particular message. Now okay. Longer integer I need to see, but first see. To insert it, I need a object called content values, which is also similar to a bundler passable object. Build the content values. So what are the incoming ones? String, title, insert the table, message table. This is going to be null, content values. Notice what type of, it is long, so I can return it. So this will insert the message. Update the message is only differences. Message table, content value, var class, so it's going to be message ID. So this will make sure your message is updated, and finally delete it. So the same. Returns an integer. Okay, so we have completed our all utility methods, which will give you a result. So when you want to get all the messages, use this. If you want to get a specific message, use this. Inserting, updating, deleting. So everything has been written. So our database part is completed. We have to check first thing whether it works or not. That's a very important point. Chances are there we may have done spelling mistake. So far everything looks fine for me. Okay. It starts from SMS list fragment. This code will get a huge change, so make sure you do not update the existing code like me. Take a copy and the previous exercise, make sure you finish up to the place where I did not add the database stuff. Now create a new project, copy all the previous files and start modifying. Make it as a separate project. Maybe you can give a project title as SMSReplier 1.2, but of course I'm modifying on the top of it. I don't want to waste your time. Okay. So we need a better we use a cursor adapter instead of depending this simple adapter. The cursor adapter can directly load the values of your cursor. The only requirement is it should have an active database connection open throughout. So what's the name I gave? Message. On create is the best block to have a connection open. And with on destroy we can close the database. Okay. So I'm going to use a simple cursor adapter. This block I don't need it. I'm going to get rid of this as well. So here it is. Use simple cursor. This one. That one constructor is a deprecated one. The context is being a get activity. Layout, the same layout. Android art dot layout. Simple list item, single choice. The cursor, 1 second. Cursor also we can keep it global, I hope. Okay, not required. Let me keep cursor local. Get all messages. So the key or the fields, which one I want to display. So message db dot title only. This one I want to display. This is Android dot I hope I set the flag to 0. I remember. Am I right? So this adapter is set and we are done. We will see how things work. These things. I'm going to pass the database ID. I'm going to replace whatever key is being used here to database specific one. This ID itself is more than enough. I don't need to send everything. Since I'm using database, I can anywhere I can query it. And oh, one big condition we forgot. We are using simple cursor adapter. There is a recommendation to keep the message or the primary key as mine underscore ID. Other than that, the simple adapter may not be able to load if you specify any primary key other than underscore ID. Okay, still some errors. This part we'll see because it is going to be an update block only. Okay. If it doesn't update, we will use a recreation. So I think this block is done. So we are using simple cursor adapter and we are using SQLite database to load the data into a list view using simple cursor adapter, which where your database or the particular table, the primary key should be named as underscore ID. So it should load if data is present. Okay. We'll see what on compose done is interface method. So we are now moving to compose message fragment where a new data is added to a database. It can be a local instance because there is no adapters here. So this block, instead of passing the values, I can do insert message, the title and the string. When done, close. Let this callback be here. This block I will see a little later, so I have to keep it on to avoid the error. So this will make sure your new item is added, and it calls the handle callbacks, and it comes to main activity on compose done. Now you have to refresh your fragment, I mean list. So what I can do, you can have one method public this is more than enough. Okay. If everything works fine, it should give me the expected result. Before that, I'll clear the unwanted which requires result code maybe here. The item new. Okay. This will insert. Fine. I want to modify this particular block. I'll slightly rename them to suit. Everything renamed. To suit our requirement, I have modified. So update thing I'll do in the main activity instead of here, because unnecessarily we'll be using this block. Okay, not. So this block will handle the insert and update together. Of course the update block won't come here at all, so I think the insert itself is enough. Because update we are having a different activity, so this block won't be called at all for update purpose. Fine, everything looks fine. Let me run it. Display. Oh, still need to fix something. Last one. So I can, instead of sending it back, I can simply update it. So let me see how this logic comes. So it comes with the item ID, it goes inside. Sorry. So every body I have modified. But this block I will modify again, but I want to first check whether the other part is working. It's only sending message ID alone. column index, message db, message title. Getting a message ID, I'm querying the database, and when everything is done, cursor close, db close. This has got modified. Before updating too much, it's better to verify our code is working or not. Why it is failing? Expected. Let us see what's the error. I'm going to start activity long fragment already active. Okay, something is terribly going wrong. I want to see whether the same output came from this. For what reason it is printing? I don't know. Message open on a null. Okay, somewhere I haven't initialized, seems to be. Need to see where. Caused by. Okay, let me verify what is that. Expected. Seems to be my database created successfully, so it allowed me to open. The actual error will come to know only after composing it, if any error persists. Driving. Okay, something's not inserted, or maybe cursor not adapter not refreshed, some other purpose. So let me restart one more time. Okay, so values are there. Maybe the adapter notified data set change did not work. So This is the main activity. When I hit submit, this method will be called, and this is an update list view. Okay. Okay, so time to make the cursor global. Not updating. Okay, if it doesn't work, the only way I have right now is this will make sure the cursor is recreated for you. Okay, so now it has added. So adding went well. I'm skeptical on editing. Let me try that. That also works. It brought the results. So edit SMS will call on compose done with the edited message ID and the new one. So I haven't yet to write the editor functions. The result code remains same. But, okay, so now the update also works. Okay, so, okay, fine. And finally I need to check whether the delete works. That also works. So now the app is fully supporting persistency. So any data you add here is permanently saved. Not like before. I don't know where my application is there. So data remains persisted. The most of the part you already know, the database thing, how it works, but only the placement I have modified and changed the keys to match its primary key and other information. And SMS list fragment, right now it needs a primary key ID. So info ID will retrieve the primary key value, whatever the particular item you are calling. So it will be sent to the new activity. So it will be querying the same value again using the primary key whichever comes coming, and then attach them to a view. So I've used the get support fragment manager find fragment by ID way in order to call the data. Call the fragment. That's it. I'll post this part also. I'm going to name this project as SMSReplier 1.2. Make sure you complete that 1.1 as well without having any database specific codes, and then you move on to this exercise and finish it off. Once you are done, tomorrow I'll attach the broadcast receiver so that the same message, whatever message is selected, would be sent as a SMS reply whenever somebody send a SMS to you. I had to add a preference, one single preference for that the selected message could be saved. That probably I'll add it tomorrow. After that, I have one small exercise for landscape and portrait different view. So when I when I'm complete with that, we are almost done with the activity. Few things I have, maybe with the various exercises or various example I can complete them, like a drawer, like a left base or right base drawer, and grid view one small thing is pending, and then we'll move on to a service broadcast receivers much, and we'll see various launcher option on how to handle intents and how to handle content provider, those kind of small snippets. Maybe 4 or 5 days those things will go on, and then you'll have a full-fledged project for you for your experiment. In meanwhile, I'll also complete the web service. So how to handle the web service? I'm pretty confident on handling the web service because you already know what is JSON. So that is going to be based on the JSON only. So you can easily understand that. So once we are done, we are almost done with the Android training. Rest of the part, of course, whatever is going to continue is on the advanced side. How to handle threading, how to handle notification, and how to write a background task and map, how to get the current location of the user, how to draw a map, how on the map how to draw a circle, or how to draw polygons, how to draw a path, those kind of things. It's all going to be an advanced side. But as far as enterprise application developer, those things would be pretty minimal for you. And we will also see camera and other how to handle the camera instance. so that your application can handle camera and take a picture and get the picture in your application, and how to handle recording, uh, be it audio or video recording, how to handle them. So those things we are going to see. So it's all comes under an advanced segment, small code snippets. Each one will have some small example, but a complete bunch will come as a project for you. So I'll give you maybe 3 or 4 days you can do that project. I'll give you an entire requirement specification and design document and everything, and then you can complete. Of course, I will be helping you uh, if you have any question. So make sure you guys finish whatever the exercises I'm uploading. I'm also uploading most of the videos in the very next day itself. What I'm talking, I'm uploading the same night, and tomorrow it will be ready for you for your further reference. If your computer, if your, if you could access YouTube, of course, you can rewind and see what we were discussing about. Otherwise, you can go home and have your videos. So that's it. So what's the last status? Which exercise you people are working on now? 1.1. Uh, Fragment part completed. That one, like fragment with action bar tab. This one you are working, right? Everybody working on the same exercise? Okay, so you can go ahead, and of course you can also, if possible, try to have this part also completed today, or I'll give time till tomorrow, maybe pre-lunch session you can use it. Afternoon I'll start the other part. Okay.